Let's go through how to construct an intensity chart. First thing we're going to do is work with the title. Then we're going to work with the introduction itself and how to paste this in here. And then we're going to work with your word choice, how to paste those words in from your Microsoft Word document, and how to arrange these words on the page, and then create lines connecting those individual words. So now I'm going to go here to my Microsoft Word document, and I'm going to double-click on the title and hit Command-C to copy that. Now before we paste our title here, we want to make sure we go up here to File and Save As, so that we preserve this particular reading and also preserve the original so that we can reuse it for further intensity charts in the future. Now that we have the file named up here, we can go ahead and replace intensity chart passage goes here with the title of our new intensity chart. And we might want to underscore it and delete the underline. Now we're ready to go back to our Microsoft Word document and select just the intro, not the orientation to need audience designation, and hit Command-C. Select all of the text in this box, hit Command-V, and there's the first part of your intro. Then do the same thing with the second part of the intro. There's the rest of the intro, and I can remove the dots and change the but to a capital. And there you have your intro. So now we're going to jump down to the verse progression bar down here, and since we have too many verses, 22 through 35, to fit each as a single verse along the verse progression bar, we are going to change this to 22-23 and so on until we get to verses 34 and 35 here at the end of the verse progression bar. Now, just as a reminder, each of these is divided into equal segments, an equal number of verses, so that we'll get an idea of exactly how our intensity, which is going to be equivalent to our pace, varies throughout the course of the reading. Now we're ready to work on choosing the individual words. Now, one thing to keep in mind, remember, the first word that will begin your IC is always going to be the first word from the text. We notice here in our Microsoft Word document that the first word is now, so we're going to select it. Then you just, back here in the PowerPoint presentation, you just select the first word, hit Command-V, and there it is, or you could just type it in. See here how I have created my first valley word. The very first word, I put it in green because green is my valley, and then the first peak word is down here. It's at the end of the very first verse. The word Lord, I've put it in blue because blue is the color of sky, and that's a peak word. Now I'm going to paste the word Lord here. And then I have to decide where on this intensity, on the y-axis and on the x-axis, I'm going to place this. So I'm going to go until it turns into the cross again, and I'm going to drag it right about in here. Now, since it is at the very end of verse 22, I don't want to hit it real hard. I'm just going to hit it right around a 3, thereabouts, around a 3, and put it right in there. So back on our document page, I just wanted to point out the different words. Now is your first word, and that's a valley word. Then you go to the word Lord, and it's a peak word. Then we scroll down and see now, again, is a valley word, followed by Christ is a peak word, followed by so is a valley word, followed by God is a peak word, now, valley, glory, peak, so, valley, amazed, peak. And then on down, well, is the last word of the reading, and so that's your final valley word. I went ahead and transferred all of the words that we had chosen from the Word document into their appropriate places here on the PowerPoint presentation. The next step is to select our words here and to place them as they should appear on the intensity chart and the verse progression. That is the X and the Y and the X axis. So I choose now. It's in verse 25, and so I bring it down to here, but not quite as far down as the first now that occurred back in verse 23. So I'll place it right about there, and then Christ is the next one. It's going to be a peak word. That's in verse 26, and it's going to be a little bit higher than Lord, but not much. There isn't a lot of emphasis there, so I'll place it right about along about a 4. Okay, you can see that I have placed all of the remaining words that we have chosen from our Microsoft Word document here in their appropriate places on the graph. The next step is going to be to select the words. This is just going to make it a little bit more visually interesting and easy to track with the peak and valley words on your Microsoft Word document. And we're going to choose, double-click on a word, and you'll notice up here, now you get a new set of options. And since this is a valley word, I'm going to click here and choose green for a valley word. I'll click here and choose blue as my peak word, and that'll help your eye remember that these are the peak and valley words from your Microsoft Word document. I went ahead and colored all of the peak and valley words, the peak words all in blue, the valley words all in green. Our next step is to add lines in between these, because just looking at it like this, it can be a little bit confusing. So we're going to go up here to the Shapes menu, pull it down, and we're just going to take a simple shape like this, just a line, and we're just going to draw a random line, little short line like this. As soon as I click on this, it's selected, and you'll notice that up here, Shape Format has been added. So I'm going to click on Shape Format, and I'll notice that I can change the thickness of my line. So I may want it to be here, or I may want it to be thinner. I like it to be a little bit thicker, so I'm going to change it to that thickness. And then back here on my document, I'm just going to hit CV, and it will multiply this line. I'll move these apart, and that way I'll have the lines all the same size, and I can move them then down into these positions. So first of all, I'll move this one, take it right about in there, go to a corner, and move it over there. And by the way, if you want to get more fine-tuning on your placement, just hold down the Command key if you're working on a Mac, and you can snap it into position more precisely like that. And here you see the completed graph. But I like to have dots signifying the specific point where I'm going to hit that word. So I'm going to go back up here to Shapes. I'll choose the oval. I will come back here and just hold down the Shift key to constrain it so that it comes out a perfect dot. Now it's blue, and I really don't want it to be blue, so I'll come back up here to Shape Fill, and I will click on green, and now that oval is green, and I will then replicate that by hitting Command C and V, and I will choose one. I will then drag it to the appropriate position, and there you have the completed intensity chart.